Welcome back to our channel. That wasn't even his greatest scandal. He dated the president's daughter and was the subject of an FBI investigation. George Hamilton eventually reveals the $12 million that vanished from his bank accounts when he is 85 years old. His unexpected reason for returning to Palm Beach, as well as the secret health crisis that nearly killed him. At last, Hollywood's most enigmatic playboy is prepared to share everything, from KFC ads to cancer scares. August 12, 1939, saw the birth of George Hamilton in Memphis, Tennessee. As a bandleader, George William "Spike" Hamilton took his orchestra on cross-country tours. His mother, Anne Lucille Stevens, was from Blytheville, Arkansas, and was a Southern socialite. Their marriage was in turmoil, but their world was dazzling. Spike's involvement with a band member in 1944 caused everything to fall apart. Following the divorce, Anne was left to raise George and his two brothers by herself. George was raised by his grandparents in Blytheville after she relocated the family there. There, life was stable, charming, and tranquilly Southern. However, both grandparents died suddenly in 1947. It all altered with this loss. Now having difficulty providing for her kids, Anne took a risk. To determine whether they would relocate to Hollywood or New York, she flipped a coin. On Hollywood, the coin fell. She immediately packed their belongings and left for the West in the hopes of starting over. Hollywood life was anything but steady. Because of her numerous marriages, Anne was always moving between places like Palm Beach, Beverly Hills, Boston, and New York. Attending private schools, military academies, and prestigious residential schools, George repeatedly adjusted to new surroundings. These encounters molded his character. He gained skills in blending in, charming others, and standing out when necessary. George already possessed an innate confidence by the time he arrived at Palm Beach High School. There, he discovered his love for performing. In a statewide competition, he won the title of Finest Actor in Florida for his performance in a play of Brigadoon during his senior year. That was the turning point. Acting wasn't merely a pastime, he realized. It was his destiny. Before graduating from high school in 1957, he made a decision that would change his life. He went back to Hollywood, hoping to pursue a career in acting. It was not an easy road. He led a modest life, playing little parts wherever he could. His charisma and attractive appearance immediately attracted notice. He made appearances on series like The Adventures of Rin Tin Tin and The Donna Reed Show on television. Hollywood had already paid attention, but he was only beginning. At the age of 20, he won his first big role in 1959 in Crime and Punishment, USA, a film adaptation of Dostoevsky's classic that shifted the action from 19th-century Russia to 1950s Santa Monica. As a resolute detective pursues him, Hamilton portrayed Robert Cole, a law student who murders a pawnbroker and battles guilt. It was a demanding and difficult position for a novice. Hamilton's performance, however, was both assured and exposed. His performance was so remarkable that he was nominated for Best Foreign Actor at BAFTA and won a Golden Globe for Most Promising Newcomer. Critics compared him to Anthony Perkins, who had recently become well known for his role in Psycho, 1960. Their similar appearances and somber on-screen personas benefited Hamilton. Hollywood was always looking for actors who may be the next big thing, and his likeness to Perkins helped him get the part. The movie itself had a mixed reception. Some praised its cinematography, which was inspired by noir. Some thought it deviated too much from the original plot, while others enjoyed the jazz-infused soundtrack. One thing, however, was obvious. An imprint had been left by Hamilton. Despite the film's modest budget, it demonstrated his ability to carry a film as the main actor. Prior to entering the Hollywood film industry, Hamilton gained expertise in television. The show was canceled in 1958 due to production problems, but it went on to become a cult favorite and the best television series ever. Hamilton's ability to portray a variety of characters in spooky, gripping tales allowed him to demonstrate his flexibility. At about the same time, he also made an appearance on the well-known family sitcom, The Donna Reed Show. It helped him gain exposure and confidence on screen, despite being a very different genre. And then, Vincente Minnelli directed Home from the Hill in 1960. The movie followed the tale of a prosperous but dysfunctional Southern family. Theron Honeycutt, portrayed by Hamilton, was the protected and sensitive son of Robert Mitchum's strict and demanding father figure. It was a story about coming of age that was full of grief, expectations, and family strife. The struggle to figure out where he fits in the world was portrayed in Hamilton's performance. The movie was a critical and financial triumph, and Hamilton was forced to prove himself by starring with Mitchum and Eleanor Parker. Minnelli thought Hamilton was the best fit for Theron after observing his talent in Crime and Punishment USA. Hamilton became a Hollywood star thanks to the role, but more significantly, it demonstrated that he had the acting chops to support it. He wasn't just another attractive person. He was able to give complicated characters nuance and passion. He still had a double-edged resemblance to Anthony Perkins. It brought him attention, but it also led to ongoing comparisons. Although some critics praised his charisma and on-screen persona, many thought he lacked Perkins' intensity. Hollywood has attempted to categorize actors into specific kinds. And Hamilton had to establish that he was more than a mere emulation. In the 1960s, George Hamilton became well-known quickly and without warning. The 1960 picture Where the Boys Are, which encapsulated the fervor and defiance of young Americans, marked his breakthrough. It examined changing social ideals and love as it accompanied four college females on a spring break trip to Florida. Hamilton portrayed Ryder Smith, an elegant student from the Ivy League who captures Dolores Hart's affection. It was more than just a hit movie. It sparked a trend. As thousands of students started traveling to Florida for spring break, the practice became ingrained in the culture. The impact of the film was further enhanced by the success of its title song, which was recorded by Connie Francis. Hamilton was no longer merely a performer. He was a representation of charm, as well as sophistication. His role became more serious in Light in the Piazza, 1962, 2 years later. Although it had deeper emotional layers, it was still a love story. Young Italian Fabrizio Naccarelli, portrayed by Hamilton, falls in love with Yvette Mimia's character, an American visitor. There was a problem, though. Her persona was intellectually disabled. And the movie looked at whether love could get over the barriers it put in its way. Hamilton's genuine and passionate performance demonstrated that he was more than just a handsome man. His work was hailed by critics despite the film's poor box office performance. The film, which was shot in Rome and Florence, allowed Hamilton to play a more nuanced role. Although it wasn't his greatest achievement, it demonstrated that he was capable of playing significant roles. At the end of the 1970s, Hamilton's career took an unexpected turn. He tended to portray comedy rather than another romantic lead. Dracula was recreated in Love at First Bite, 1979, as a chic vampire who was expelled from his castle by communist authorities and had to relocate to New York. Despite its absurdity, the notion proved successful. Dracula was made humorous and strangely likable by Hamilton's portrayal of the character, which combined charm and self-awareness. The hilarity was heightened by the contrast between his well-known tan and the stereotypically pale vampire appearance. Considering its modest budget, the movie turned out to be an unexpected smash, grossing nearly $44 million. He proved he could make people laugh as easily as he could play a love lead with his performance, which garnered him a Golden Globe nomination. Although the picture developed a cult following, some critics felt that the humor was inconsistent. In 1981, Hamilton's comic streak was maintained with Zorro, the Gay Blade. This time, he portrayed two characters, the renowned Zorro Don Diego Vega and his colorful twin brother Ramon, who was also known as Bunny. Bunny takes control after Zorro is hurt, applying his personal dramatic flair to the part. The picture had a blend of humor and action, with his interpretation of heroism involving ostentatious attire and dramatic maneuvers. The gags were deemed creative and innovative by some commentators, while others believed they relied too much on stereotypes. Although it didn't earn as much as Love at First Bite, Hamilton was nominated for another Golden Globe for the picture. It demonstrated that he had no fear of taking chances and manipulate his own image. Hamilton encountered difficulties during his career despite his achievements. Because of his attractiveness, he was typecast as a charming playboy by Hollywood, which limited the roles he could play. But he didn't let that define who he was. He defied expectations with his humorous performances after revealing glimmers of his profundity in the Piazza. Behind the scenes, he also produced Evel Knievel, a biographical film on the well-known stuntman in 1971. It was just one more instance of how he took charge of his career rather than waiting for the ideal position. At one point, Hamilton made a joke about being a first-rate con artist but a third-rate actor. However, the reality was different. Making the most of every chance, staying relevant, and adapting were all skills he possessed. He was more than a Hollywood hottie. He survived in a field that frequently forgets its stars as soon as it creates them. There was more to George Hamilton's life than just Hollywood glitz. For decades, he was in the news because of his high-profile relationships, financial scandals, and political intrigue. He had more than just affection in his relationships. They frequently had more profound ties to influence and power, which makes his narrative among the most intriguing in Hollywood history. President Lyndon B. Johnson's daughter Linda Bird Johnson was the woman Hamilton began dating in 1966. Linda was 22 and Hamilton was 26. They were a spectacle from the beginning. They even went on vacation in Acapulco, attended Mardi Gras, and made appearances at the Oscars. The LBJ Ranch was Hamilton's Easter destination. They attended Linda's sister's wedding in Washington, D.C. While the public witnessed a gorgeous couple, President Johnson was quietly worried. Hamilton was viewed by Johnson as an agenda-driven, polished talker. He was more than just doubtful. He was looking for evidence. He requested an investigation into Hamilton's past from FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover and Supreme Court Justice Abe Fortas. Everything was investigated, including his military history and personal life. Hamilton was rumored to have escaped the draft for the Vietnam War. Given that his mother was living nicely in Beverly Hills, detectives questioned his claims of financial responsibility for his family. One odd instance jumped out. Hamilton was given a gun by the president while on a hunting vacation at Johnson's ranch in Texas. It was unclear to everyone whether it was a friendly gesture or something more sinister. The partnership ended quickly. Linda moved on and married Marine Corps Captain Charles Robb by 1967. Hamilton, however, never completely left the Johnson family sphere. He continued to be friends with Linda, and he even went to her wedding. Over 10 years later, Hamilton became involved with Ferdinand Marcos, another influential woman. When Hamilton was promoting his movie Love at First Bite in 1979, they first crossed paths. Their bond grew rapidly, and it is said that Imelda gave Hamilton financial assistance for his endeavors. Court records from years later included startling information. Hamilton had facilitated the flow of almost $12 million in pilfered Philippine cash through his accounts. The funds were utilized for several things, including the acquisition of a mansion in Beverly Hills and the financing of a movie about the romantic life of General Douglas MacArthur. He returned $5.5 million to a Hong Kong bank associated with Marcos Associates, according to Hamilton. However, a large portion of the funds returned to the Marcos family, according to investigators. Despite being named as an unindicted co-conspirator in a racketeering case, Hamilton maintained his innocence. He was adamant that he and Imelda had a completely social relationship. After his brother died, he invited her to the Philippines, and he even claimed that she saved his mother's life. Imelda, however, was thought to have a significant impact on Hamilton's financial choices by agents. There was evidence that she was directly responsible for debts backed by his Beverly Hills estate. Hamilton's connections with influential women continued after that. His reputation as one of Hollywood's most endearing playboys grew over the years. According to his lengthy list of partnerships, he allegedly asserted that no one in Hollywood had dated more than him. He was associated with some of the most well-known actresses and socialites of his era, as well as at least 4 Miss Worlds. He was romantically involved with Alana Stewart and Elizabeth Taylor. Was not at all normal. Elvis Presley's manager, Colonel Tom Parker, served as the best man during their Las Vegas wedding. Their son, Ashley George Hamilton, was born on September 30, 1974, 2 years later. Despite appearing to be picture perfect, their marriage ended in 1976. After a divorce, most couples part ways. However, George and Alana remained remarkably close. Together, they even co-hosted a discussion show almost 20 years later. When George and Alana first debuted in the middle of the 1990s, viewers got a glimpse of their loving and playful relationship. There was no denying their chemistry, which demonstrated that their relationship had never truly waned. It's uncommon in Hollywood or anywhere else for a husband and wife to become great friends. Ashley, their son, grew up in the entertainment industry and pursued acting like his parents. His first appearance was in Beethoven's Second Symphony in 1993. He then made an appearance in Iron Man 3 in 2013. Nevertheless, he faced many difficulties in his personal life. After only 2 weeks of dating, he married actress Shannon Doherty at the age of 19. It was a 5-month marriage. He battled drugs and food issues as well, but comedy and music ultimately gave him stability. George and Alana were by his side the entire time, supporting him no matter what. Ashley still acknowledges their unwavering presence. When George started dating swimsuit model Kimberly Blackford in the late 1990s, his life took another turn. They never got married, but on December 6, 1999, they had a son, George Thomas Hamilton, Jr. He went by GT and was brought up in a structured and orderly manner. He was a student at Admiral Farragut Academy, a Florida military institution that his father and half-brother had also attended. Despite their breakup, George and Kimberly were determined to raise GT together. He became interested in leadership and politics as he grew older. He and his father had a close relationship that was full of respect and fun despite their large age difference. Often referred to as his second chance at parenting, George felt immense satisfaction in his son's aspirations. In the meantime, the bond between Alana and George was still as solid as ever. Despite Alana's second marriage to rock icon Rod Stewart, George remained close to her family and even took on the role of father to her children, Sean and Kimberly Stewart. There was discussion of George and Alana getting married again throughout the years, but they concluded that their current arrangement was ideal. They shared meals, talked daily, and always stood by one another. George Hamilton has always been adept at transforming his reputation into a profitable venture. His casual Hollywood style, smooth charm, and deep tan had already made him famous by the late 1980s. He therefore managed to maintain his fame as his acting career began to wane. He introduced the George Hamilton Sun Care System and Skin Care System, a range of face masks, exfoliating scrubs, and nighttime reviving gels. Designed for both men and women, these items were touted as hypoallergenic and all-natural. Initially, they could be ordered by mail, but department stores eventually carried them. Hamilton entered the tanning salon industry at the same time. It was a dangerous moment. The tanning business was facing pressure by the late 1980s as skin cancer fears increased. About a golden tan, so he leaned in rather than stepping back. His facilities offered standard tanning beds combined with skincare products and sunscreens for aftertans, all while promising safe tanning solutions. It went beyond only making sales. The goal was to market a way of life that was similar to Hamilton's. He was able to go from actor to entrepreneur and maintain his public profile thanks to this change. His brand was no longer limited to films. The concept was timeless, sun-kissed elegance. As a result, his subsequent reinvention felt equally natural. Hamilton converted another of his passions into a business in 1997. He never lost his passion for Cuban cigars, even after smoking his first one in Havana when he was just 17. He founded the Cigar Lounge in Hamilton that year, at Las Vegas's New York Hotel and Casino. It was an experience rather than just a location to buy cigars. The club car, an elite back section in the lounge, was built to resemble an opulent railcar with banquets of crimson velvet. For the ideal finish, servers carried double guillotine cigar cutters, and the menu featured 15 blends under Hamilton's name. Hamilton did more than simply sign his name. In order to produce high-end goods like Hamilton's Reserve, which used Dominican fillers and Connecticut wrappers with notes of coffee, chocolate, and cinnamon, he collaborated with skilled blenders. His Hollywood career was even referenced by the whimsical titles of several cigars, such as Zorro and King George. Although the lounge was a success for a while, the cigar bar craze was starting to fade by the beginning of 2000. And Las Vegas was seeing an increase in competition. Eventually, the lounge closed, but it had fulfilled its function. It was another exquisite, decadent, and classic example of Hamilton's persona. Then, in 2016, Hamilton's most unexpected role to date shocked everyone. He was made Colonel Sanders. In a promotion that KFC was doing, many actors took turns portraying the well-known fast food icon. Hamilton was also selected to advertise their extra crispy chicken. Ads tended to be humorous. He maintained his deep tan while sporting the traditional white suit, adding to the impression that this iteration of the Colonel had been in the sun a bit too much. It was the ideal fusion of self-knowledge and theatricality. The campaign was successful. And he returned in 2018 for more advertisements with KFC. Hamilton's ability to humorously accept his own image was praised by veteran admirers, while younger audiences delighted in the lighthearted twist. When George Hamilton entered reality television, he discovered a new method of entertaining viewers. He demonstrated even in his 60s that charm and wit could carry him as far as skill. He participated in Dancing with the Stars Season 2 in 2006 at the age of 66. After being teamed with professional dancer Adita Sliwinska, he immediately won over fans. His charm more than made up for his less agile moves compared to the younger competitors. His Zorro-inspired dance, in which he wore a mask and wielded a sword, was one of his most memorable performances. The homosexual Blade, Zorro. He reached the 6th round before losing, despite the fact that he was still healing from knee issues. There was more to his participation on the show than the competition. It has to do with his perpetually humorous and joyful demeanor. A new type of task was taken on by Hamilton 3 years later. He joined I'm a Celebrity's UK version in 2009. I'm leaving here and going into the Australian bush. For someone who was known for having a constant tan and wearing well-polished clothes, it was an odd place. He approached it, however, with the same sense of style and comedy that he applied to everything. He was viewed by fans as the winner. He stunned everyone, however, by leaving on his own volition on November 30th. He left the same way he had come, according to his own rules, having joined for fun rather than the prize. Hamilton kept appearing as a guest on scripted television shows in addition to reality TV. He starred in A Deadly State of Mind, a Columbo episode, in 1975. His portrayal of a psychiatrist who committed murder through hypnosis demonstrated his ability to simultaneously be sophisticated and villainous. 1991 saw him return to Columbo for Caution. Your health may be at risk from murder. Portraying a host of a crime show who murdered a rival this time. For parts like these, where charm concealed a darker side, his easygoing manner made him the ideal choice. Hamilton was still able to steal the show decades later. He played the endearing older man named Bob in the 2016 season of the sitcom Two Broke Girls. It was only one episode and a minor role. But he added spice to the persona with his humorous timing. Hamilton had a knack of making every performance memorable, whether he was taking on a murderous character or cracking a fast joke. By starring in his own reality series, Stewart's and Hamilton's, he went one step further in 2015. Following his mixed family, which included his ex-wife Alana Stewart, their son Ashley Hamilton, and Alana's children from her marriage to Rod Stewart, the show ran on E! It was more than just celebrity. In a society that frequently forgets its stars, it was about family, growing old with grace, and remaining relevant. Regardless of his station in life, Hamilton exuded a sense of natural charm and a father figure who knew how to have fun. Although the show was short, only one season, it offered viewers something new. A true glimpse of the man behind the Hollywood persona. Despite playing a variety of parts over his career, Hamilton wasn't performing in Stewart's or Hamilton's. He was just himself. Furthermore, George Hamilton spent decades honing his distinctive bronzed appearance, but his health finally suffered as a result of years of tanning. He had an early and enduring enthusiasm for tanning. He continued to use sun reflectors long after most others stopped using them. He used tanning beds and spent hours in the sun to maintain his golden glow. However, the harm grew irreparable over time. He needed surgery to remove malignant tumors from his forehead and ear after several skin cancer scares. In 2024, a surgical problem arose from an abruptly popping suture. This served as a reminder. In the end, Hamilton decided to use safer tanning options. He utilizes auto-bronzing lotions, including one he used to sell on QVC, now rather than depending on the sun. As more people become aware of the risks associated with UV exposure, his choice is indicative of a broader global trend. After being among the last celebrities to use artificial tanning, he now publicly promotes sun safety. In hindsight, he acknowledges that while a tan could seem attractive, the dangers are worthless. In addition to a shift in skincare, Hamilton has also increased his attention to his health. He maintains his youth at 85 by adhering to a tight diet. Since sugar is the worst food a person can eat, he stays away from it. He emphasizes omega-3 rich fish, vibrantly colored veggies, and organic greens in his meals. He believes that eating is the key to keeping energetic, and he bases his beliefs on longevity research and the Mediterranean diet. He makes sure he receives all the nutrients he needs by consuming smoothies consisting of bananas, goji berries, almonds, and kale every day. In addition, he fasts 4 times a year, sometimes for up to 9 days. It maintains his organs healthy and helps him cleanse his body, he thinks. He also supplements with a wide range of vitamins, minerals, CoQ10, fish oil, melatonin, vitamin Z, C, A, and D, and B complex minerals. This regimen has kept his skin flawless and his mind bright, even as he gets closer to his late 80s. Despite spending so much time in Hollywood, Hamilton has been lured back to Palm Beach, a place that influenced him as a child. He came full circle in his life when he returned in 2024. He learned how to function in high society here while attending Palm Beach High School, where he spent a large portion of his adolescence. His father led a society band and his mother was a socialite, exposing him to a world of elites where elegance and charm were as vital as skill. He used to visit Green's Pharmacy frequently as a young man and even had encounters with John F. Kennedy. In his later words, Palm Beach taught him the talents that would establish his reputation in Hollywood and served as both a prep school and a finishing school. Similar to his previous behavior, he has embraced the social scene since his return. Icons like the Duke and Duchess of Windsor have visited Swifties at the Colony Hotel, where he is frequently spotted. He mixes in with the glitzy surroundings with ease, wearing colorful jumpers from Worth Avenue boutiques or well-tailored suits. He tells guests anecdotes from his time in Hollywood while they are eating lunch. There are even some residents who think he ought to run for mayor, however. He chuckles at the thought. Politics doesn't pique his interest. His primary concern is having fun. Hamilton isn't only gazing back, though, even at 85. He's getting ready to tour the US and Europe with a one-man show. From his roles as Hank Williams, Evel Knievel, and even Colonel Sanders in KFC commercials to his roles in movies like Home from the Hill, 1960, and Light in the Piazza, 1962, the program will showcase his greatest moments. He will share personal experiences and behind-the-scenes stories, incorporating humor as always. His early days of teaching ballroom dancing and the time he drove a vintage Rolls-Royce to maintain appearances when money was tight are among the stories fans can anticipate.